Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Addis Dialogue. As the continent of Africa continues to grapple with mounting pressures arising from food insecurity, climate change, and the growth of the population, lessons to take from some of the countries is noteworthy. In this regard, Ethiopia's lessons when it comes to the cultivation of its unique enset is both timely and critical guidance. In this episode, we're going to be delving into all this, and we're going to take you on a journey through Ethiopia's agricultural landscape, a story of resilience and untapped potential for the whole continent of Africa. And my guest today is Dr. Tsedeke Abate, who has extensive experience when it comes to researching in the agriculture sector in Ethiopia and beyond. I'm your host, Shifarao Lago. Do stay with us. Well, Dr. Tsedeke Abate, many thanks for joining me, of course, for coming to our studio and for your time.
It's all my pleasure, sir.
Absolutely. So let's first off talk about the book that you've recently launched, The Untold Stories of African Agriculture and Lessons from Ethiopia. So what exactly motivated you to explore the untapped potential of African agriculture, specifically focusing on Ethiopia's exemplary work?
Thank you so much. And a very, very pertinent question. It goes back a long time, really. First of all, it's about giving back. What I have taken from this society, whether we are in Ethiopia or elsewhere in Africa, I think all of us owe to our countries, to our continent, something. I've been thinking about this. Oh, before that, let me say this. I consider myself a very lucky person. Why? Because I had the opportunity to work as a researcher in this country, as a leader of my career, agricultural research and development, and then also beyond here in many, many parts of Africa, all the way from Southern Africa, Eastern Africa, Central Africa, Western Africa. I consider myself very lucky. And so I had the opportunity to work here, and I had the opportunity to work in other parts of Africa, in India, in Nepal, Bangladesh. So all of those have given me the incentive to do something that would contribute to the well-being of this continent and beyond. When you work for an international organization, when you are an international civil servant, you don't have much time to think about a book of this volume.
Yes.
400 plus pages to synthesize those ideas together is a daunting task.
It's time consuming as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
So, by the way, when you write something, you want to show to the world something new, what has not been said before.
Yes.
My motto, my challenge to everybody who speaks with me, who writes with me, is I will say that first in Amharic and I will translate it into English. ምን ያልተባለ ነገር አለ? If you don't have something new to say, don't say it. Almost 8 years ago to the date, I took my retirement from CIMIT, the Center for International Maize and Wheat Research, based in Mexico. But I was based, of course, in Africa, based in Nairobi, was working across the continent, and by so doing, I gathered so much information and that would be useful to the continent. So when I returned, I was asking myself, what can I do? to contribute however small amount of knowledge, experience to African agriculture.
Wow.
So a group of us, people in agricultural research and development, got together and established a think tank, an independent think tank.
Wow.
Mind you, we are not an NGO.
Okay.
We are a think tank. We haven't raised any money. It's all from our own voluntary services. So we got together, established an organization, an independent think tank called Homegrown Vision. Mm-hmm. The name is Homegrown Vision. In Amharic, we say Hagar Bakal Eyita. Mm-hmm. And that idea is catching up and so forth. So in a nutshell, I wanted to give back to the society, to Ethiopia, to Africa, and gathered a large number of people. If you see in this book, there were 40 plus, about 44, 45 people who were engaged in here.
Okay.
So, if I had it my way, I would have loved to have even more people, because this is one way you teach the younger generation what it means to love your country, to love your continent, and to respect your discipline, your career.
Wow. So obviously this work has definitely added some value, to the cause that you are after, which is really admirable. So moving on from there, what are some of the key factors that have contributed to the agricultural gains for Ethiopia's agricultural growth that can go beyond the border of Ethiopia?
Yes. See, as we try to say here, lessons. Lessons can be either way. They can be that direction, that direction. The biggest lesson is the fact that if you really want to develop your country, whether it's in agriculture or other economy, you have to have what I call the 3 I's, the letter I. Institutions, investment, inputs. Mm-hmm. So, wherever you have the combination of those 3 factors, you will have success. Mm. How you measure the success is a different story. In this case, for example, if you take the cereals sector in Ethiopia, particularly wheat, maize, and teff, these 3 crops demand and get close to 78% of all the fertilizer we use in this country. They also get the maximum amount of package, extension workers, and everything. So Ethiopia started, in quotations, modernizing its agriculture from the imperial time, when the emperor established Haramaya University. At that time, it used to be called the Ethiopian IAC.
Ethiopian Agricultural College?
Agricultural College. That time, Alamaya was built. Then the students were trained. After that, sent abroad, came back. The emphasis was institution building at the beginning, naturally. The military socialist government came. They wanted to expand the coverage of the agroecologies, and therefore we built so many new institutions. Originally it was Holata, Jimma, Warar. Then at that time it used to be called Malka Warar. Mm-hmm. But during the military time, they really expanded, the number of institutions you see today across the country. Today there are more than 80 of those institutions. So we expanded those. And then the EPRDF government came, and they wanted to reap the benefits of what has been built. And they said, okay, you have this knowledge, you have this technology, how do we expand that technology?
Okay.
So the Three Eyes institution investment inputs were in place. Were we perfect? No, by no means. Yeah. And you wouldn't expect us to be perfect. I mean, in such a short time. And 50 years in a country's, a nation's economy and history is such a short time. But have we made progress? Absolutely. Has Africa made progress? Yes. Whoever had the three eyes right has made progress. And there are so many examples that one can cite. And more than that, one biggest lesson, which has become my slogan. Okay. I have recently actually put it on LinkedIn, and everybody is, having a look at and enjoying. I say, Africa cannot outsource its development.
Wow.
It's the biggest statement about this book is that slogan.
Wow.
You cannot outsource your development to the international community. You go down, work for yourself, you take the leadership.
Wow.
And responsibility, by the way. Leadership alone, not because for whatever you do, especially from the intellectual side, from professional side, it's not about, writing just papers and making, voices and so forth, but be critical about everything, including yourself, and be accountable.
Quite an experience, and of course, the slogan is also really amazing and catchy. Thanks so much for that idea. As you know, Ethiopia has this unique vital crop, which is insets. So let's also take some time and talk about that. And how does Ethiopia's insets' biological and structural characteristics make it a vital crop for Ethiopia's agricultural growth and potentially for other countries on the continent of Africa?
It's a huge question. I mean, it is so huge, but I'll try to fit it within the time we have. First is inset. Never say false banana. In 1992, we had an international conference on inset with University of Florida people. It's a long story, but when we finished that conference and I edited a book, the proceedings of that.
Okay.
And the Florida people were not comfortable what I had to say then. And they went back and had their own sort of proceedings, semi-proceedings, and they called it Tree Against Hunger. Many people liked, tree against. No. We should not be remembered for hunger. This is a tree for abundance, my dear. Inset.
So the narrative should be changed. Wow.
Yes. Yeah. So I have so many things that really the language itself is really critical. It describes so many things.
Yes.
What you want to say, where you want to go, how you want to go, it matters. The psychology also matters. As you to use your language, the narrative matters. So I say, no, it's not tree against hungry, it's inset. It's a tree for abundance. So we should change ourselves, our thinking along that line. So it's a very interesting crop. And originally, it was associated, always associated with the southern people, you know, the southwest. When I was a freshman student, there was a French-Canadian gentleman named Savard who was associated with Addis Ababa University and doing his PhD thesis. And so he went across the country where enset is grown and so forth. He didn't see enset outside that particular region. And his study showed that enset outside the south, especially in current-day Oromia, started from Kofale, West Arsi, just above Shashamane.
In Oromia region.
In Oromia region. Today, if you see parts of Oromia, all the way to Kellam, West Wallagga, they have enset.
Wow.
So how did it go? Not me, not my institution, not the government. It's the people who took it there.
So they took the initiative.
They took the initiative. Why? They understood its benefits. Its benefits as food, its benefits as nutrition, its benefits as environment, its benefits as a commercial crop. I mean, you know, its benefit as serving as a forest, whereby you decrease the potential of your soil being washed away. Where you have enset, it's a very, very peaceful environment. So it's, somebody quoted more than 20, 30 years, maybe 40 years ago, said, oh, it's food for 20 million. No, in this book we estimate it affects the economies of close to 40 million people. Wow. To be exact, 39 million people.
Okay.
So that's where it stands. And so enset is not only just Ethiopia, but it can be expanded within Ethiopia. It can be with, I want to emphasize this, with proper protocol, proper agreements between governments. It can go to many parts of Africa where the environment, the agroecology is right. In Ethiopia as well, we say it's in southern Ethiopia, but if you look at restaurants in Addis Ababa, without kwacho, the bread, nothing is complete. Whether you are talking about hotels, whether you are talking about weddings, wherever you have.
So it's part of the dish.
It's a staple across the country. But you know, up north, far east, we haven't gone there. But the agroecology is there. Why don't we expand it to North Shower? Why don't we expand it to Wollo? Why don't we expand it to Gojam, Gondar, Tigray, wherever there is the agroecology, the right agroecology. Okay. So that's where we stand with enset.
Interesting. So talking about the expansion of the ensets, have other countries begun, adopting Ethiopia's practice of cultivation of ensets yet, or how should they, if not, how should they adapt it as part of their agricultural practices?
I want to address two issues here. First, the only initiative I saw with other African countries is when I was invited, I think last March, to give a keynote at Arbaminch University. I realized that they are collaborating, I think University of Nairobi. I'm not so sure about the name, but there was a Kenyan scientist, a senior scientist, was attending, and they were telling us that they are collaborating with Kenya to promote enset. So even within ourselves, Shifarao, we have not expanded it. We have not gone to other parts other than where is traditional home. So they don't know it. We now are trying to promote it. As I said earlier, the promotion is there, just starting a primordial stage now, really with Kenya, but that has to be a formal collaboration, formal agreement, protocol has to be there between governments, not just researchers. Within the research system in Ethiopia, there are certain universities that have taken initiatives to introduce enset to other parts, like Debre Marcos University is working with parts of southern Ethiopia and doing research. But that's the initiative I really appreciate, but we should go beyond that, and we should go at much, much higher level, as if we are doing the same thing like wheat, teff, and so forth. So it shouldn't stop really there.
It's untapped, I think.
Thank you.
Let's also talk about the trade-offs between land expansion and land intensification as part of the agricultural growth activities in Ethiopia. In this regard, what are some of your observations, especially in terms of sustainable development in our country?
Thank you, sir. Perhaps before that, one footnote I want to put about enset is that one thing we really should think about when we talk about enset is what are the priorities?
Okay.
First of all, there is this misconception and eagerness that enset will be the solution for drought and so forth.
Oh, like a panacea to everything.
Exactly. I want to sort of calibrate a little for that. Essentially, enset is a highland crop, by the way. It has anywhere below 1,800 meters above sea level. It grows, it yields, but the ideal condition is about 2,000 meters and beyond. Above. 1,800 and above is okay. So when you want to sell enset, you should not sell as a panacea for even lowland areas. No. There is a possibility that we might develop in the future technologies that also can make it adapted to those conditions. But as they stand now, it is the altitudinal issue is extremely, extremely important. That's one. In terms of priority, if you ask me, what are really the things that have to be done immediately? Basically, two things. Two highest priorities, side by side. One, you have to solve the problem of processing.
Okay.
It's a very, very tedious job. It's women who do those,
It's laborious, I think.
It's so laborious.
Yeah.
It's, we were at Arbaminch University at that conference last March. I think it was in March. So we went to Chencha.
Okay.
Arbaminch, as I said, is lower altitude, so it's not a big deal. But when you go up and when you go to Chencha, you are talking about 2,500 meters above sea level.
Okay.
I grew up as enset culture boy, but for me to see what they have at Arbaminch was a revelation. Why? One corm, the root, is about that, let's say, let's say 50 kilograms.
Okay.
Hey,
So
50
heavy,
kilograms,
yeah,
I mean,
it's very heavy.
it's huge. And
Yeah.
it's girls, doing this job. It's tedious. I have a sister, my elder sister, is in enset culture, and she tells me, how am I going to get it processed?
Wow.
I know there are Arbamenj University and even my organization are now working on the processing aspect, and that should be the number one. Another number one, I wouldn't say number two, another number one is the information. There is no statistics. Such a huge crop, you don't have reliable statistics that would help policymakers to plan food security for the coming years. Then, of course, the issue of expanding it within the country, beyond the country, are for me on the second level, and then of course the agronomy, the scientific aspect of it is. So I was telling in my keynote address, I was telling the group, if I were to be given 100 birr, where do I put my money? I said $30 each, 30 birr each for those two priorities I just told you, i.e. the processing and the statistics. And then the 20 each for the next priorities, that is the expansion and the agronomy. That does not mean that it has to wait and so forth, but we always need to, whether you are talking about enset or cereals or other root crops, we should have our priorities. If everything is a priority, then we don't have priority.
Yes.
Let me start with Africa as a whole. In this book, we calculated that about 74-75% of the change in production came from area expansion rather than productivity increment. This cannot be continued. Why? Because when you expand and expand and expand, there are so many problems with unlimited expansion. First of all, you reduce your biodiversity. Biodiversity is the basis for agricultural development, for our living as human beings.
Yes.
By so doing, by just unlimited expansion, you also reduce the number of the population of beneficial lives, insects, other pollinators. That's one thing people don't very much talk about because it's long term. You don't see it.
It's gradual.
Thank you so much. It's so gradual. It goes, slowly, but it's extremely critical. You go to, I had the opportunity over the last several years, to visit. I traveled to, as I said, Arbamenj, from Arbamenj to Wolaita Sodo, from Wolaita Sodo to Hawassa. I had the opportunity to travel to Dilla, from Hawassa to Dilla, drove there. Yeah. I had the opportunity to travel from Jimma to Bonga to Mizantepi and so forth. What you see is scary. Why? Because we are really, really expanding, especially with cereal crops. I have nothing against cereal crops. I mean, we cannot do without cereal crops anyway, but there needs to be a balance. That's where enset comes in, wherever it's applicable. You see, if you have a quarter hectare at most of enset, you are food secure. For a family of, say, an average family in Ethiopia is something like 6 people, 7 people, let's say 6 people. If you had a quarter hectare of enset,
it's so reliable, right?
So reliable. And the other thing that people don't talk about enset is the fact that it is so nutritious.
Okay.
Not many people have talked about this. The publication came, I think, in 2020 or 2022, where they found out that in calcium, in iron, in potassium, in magnesium, in zinc, enset comes on top of all the staples we eat in this country. And the impact is very obvious. Go and take measurements for child nutrition. You would see a huge difference between among children in enset culture and elsewhere because of the nutrition capacity. Desirable traits of enset and so forth. So, as I said, the 3 I's: institution, investment, inputs. Wherever we had those, the cereals and other commercial crops like legumes, in Ethiopia and in many parts of Africa, in the 70s, we started what is called diversification. Why diversification? Today, diversification has taken a different meaning, but at that time, the main purpose of diversification was to reduce the dependence on limited crops as export. In our case, it was coffee. In West Africa, it was cocoa. So if the markets failed, if the international market is not good, what do? We have to have some alternatives. So in Ethiopia, we started in the 70s with common bean or boloke. Then in the 2000s, we started with chickpea. We used to have chickpea, but the big, whitish, large seeded varieties were not there. We introduced those in those years. Today, coffee accounts only for about 40 to 43% of the total export earnings, compared to about 70 to 75% of export. So what happened is, it depends upon what you have invested, what you have prioritized.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yes, sir, yeah.
Yeah. So wherever you had enough priorities, you did have success. On the other hand, look, take enset. Take other roots and tubers crops. Take like goderre, taro. Take yams. By the way, yams are really, really going down. I mean, their area is really going down because we haven't given much emphasis to those. The same thing in Africa, by the way, as a whole. Yam area is going down. Millet area is going down because the world, particularly Africa, was told if you should talk about food security, it should be wheat or maize or rice, the staple foods.
Yes, sir.
But we have better staples than those, more sustainable. Enset, for example, is a system. It's not just one crop. It's just a system. How do we learn enough from the indigenous people, indigenous knowledge, and move forward is the question.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for those brilliant ideas. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, with that, we come to the end of today's program. Many thanks to you for having been with us so far. Till I see you next time with yet another program. It's a goodbye from me.